If you're going through a moment where the foundations of your life seem to be crumbling, maybe it's your career, maybe it's the way you see life, maybe it's everything that you've been building up until now that just no longer makes sense, this reading is for you. The cards that came out are beautiful, here to tell you what you're going to gain from this moment, but also here to give you some insight on how to get through this kind of uncomfortable, chaotic, messy moments in a way that'll make it easier. The guidance from these cards is timeless, so if you found this video, trust that there is something in here for you. Let's dive in. For today's topic, we are going to talk about the Emperor. The Emperor is all about discipline, structure, authority. So now let's see, what is the focus of this topic? Let's have a look. Oh, two cards wanted to come out. Interesting. We got the Tower and Death card. Wow, I think this might actually be a kind of a heavy reading. So as I mentioned, the Emperor is all about structure, discipline, and authority. Maybe now when I see these cards, I find that this is perhaps the person that you've always thought that you were building towards, like planting that seed, having it grow, water, daily, things. And then we have the Tower, and look at that imagery. It's almost as if this tree is completely being kind of like struck down by lightning. And that is what the Tower is. The Tower is a moment that kind of comes from outside of yourself, that comes and disrupts everything that you've always kind of been building for. And so it's usually, it's very disruptive because sometimes, we've been building a long time. Maybe this is a very sturdy tree. It's something you always believed in. And then all of a sudden you're thinking, why am I doing this? Why have I become this tree? You start questioning yourself. And that is what the Tower is. All of a sudden the Tower comes and it starts just disrupting everything, and it creates a lot of chaos. That being said, the Tower is never a punishment, and actually it brings with it a promise. The promise of actually being able to rebuild the foundations with something that's much more aligned, much more in tune with who you really are. Because sometimes, let's face it, we've become this tree not because we really wanted to become that tree, but because society has sometimes imposed things on us, or maybe it was our family, or maybe it didn't even come from society, but it used to be what we used to think was aligned, and now it's no longer aligned. And so the Tower helps you kind of be able to see that. It also helps you topple everything, the foundations of your structure. Anything that's not aligned is not going to stay. And that's where the Death card comes in, because Death has a very similar message to this, which is, yes, there is going to be the death. This old tree, this old person that you were, everything that you were building towards is not going to be there anymore. Death, it's going to change. But again, death doesn't just come with that kind of like harsh reality of the end of things. It also promises the new beginning. It promises that after the chaos, there is going to be a new chapter, a new you. So I'm curious, what is that new you? What are we building towards? What are we kind of like trying to get to? And let's see what the cards have to say. Ooh, my gosh, this is so interesting. Check out the imagery of that. We got the Six of Cups, and it's actually the same as these two trees that have already popped out. And let me assure you, trees are not the only kind of imagery in this deck. So them all coming out right now is very telling. So the Six of Cups, what is it? The Six of Cups is all about nostalgia, memories, our childhood. And what I'm getting here is that what you're going to be building after the toppling of this tree that you've been building for a while is you're going to be building something that is much more aligned with your inner child, maybe much more aligned with who you really are. It's just that maybe you've always been trying to force yourself into this other tree. And what I love about this image, sorry, which card is it? The Six of Cups, is that it's so colorful. Look at those roots. It's beautiful. It's sure, it's a little messy, but it also has so much color and life. And I feel like what you're going to be building after this is something that's much more playful, maybe more aligned with something that you've kind of forgotten or left in the past, and that you always were trying to hide. But that's what you're going to be building towards. And it's going to be able to have a much more sturdy tree that's anchored into this beautiful, like chaos and messy, but also beautiful, colorful, playful. I think it's going to be a lot more playful where you're going. And also there's something linked to, just having a lot more color, maybe also a lot of more diversity. Just it seems a lot more fun than this stark tree, especially because the emperor in itself is often linked to like structure, boundaries, rigidity. And what I'm seeing here is that you're going to be in a place that's maybe a little bit more playful, more in flow, more real life, really. That being said, as great as it is to get here, and so that can give you courage to know that as much as like the death and the toppling of your tree and wherever everything that you building so far is going to some place nice of the Six of Cups, I also know how hard those moments can be. So let's pick some cards on what can help you through this moment to help you transition so it's not as chaotic or as hard. Oh, two cards wanted to come out. Interesting. We got the Sun and the Ten of Wands. Already, just in themselves, the two cards are so like a contrast of light and dark. And what I'm getting is, I think what's going to help you right now is to really balance out the light and the dark. To remember that as crazy as it is, as crazy and kind of confusing and also dark, these two cards are quite dark, to be looking for the light, to be looking for the things that are actually nice. Because from my own experience, I know that when I've gone through moments of the tower and the toppling of my foundations, it can feel really dark. But there's always something good happening too. And it's about concentrating and finding a balance between the two of them. I also think it's interesting. So the Sun card, let's look at them individually. The Sun card is sometimes considered one of the best and most joyful, happiest cards of the whole deck. It's also linked to childhood. It's also linked to, being playful and innocent and going back to our truth, going back to those roots. And so what I'm seeing here is that the Sun is about leaning into the joy in your life. And I know sometimes when we're going through these moments, it can be really hard to find, but it's leaning into the things that bring you excitement, joy, maybe tuning back into the playfulness or things that really light you up. They could be really small at the beginning. It could almost just be like the taste of your coffee or the shower. I know those were some of my favorites when I was kind of going through moments that were really hard, but it's just to really concentrate on those and then follow those. Follow your excitement. That is really important. Then what about this one, the Ten of Wands? The Ten of Wands is about burdens and things being heavy. It's a really heavy card. And so what I'm getting here is to ease you through this moment, you got to let some things go. Not necessarily let go of things theoretically. I'm thinking real things. Give yourself a break. Get your schedule. Say no to things. You're heading towards a burnout with this one because this card can be linked to burnout. So say no to things. Say no to friends or activities. Kind of clean up your schedule so that you can have some time to process. You need to like have more time for yourself and not be burdened by so many things that you have to do. I also think there's another message here, which is when the Sun comes, it's so beautiful, and it's that is what we're aiming towards often, is this sun, the joy, the warmth on our skin. It's also a reminder that when the sun comes down, it shines shadows. It lights things up. It shows us the shadows that are maybe before the sun came down, we didn't even see them. But now that something is so clear and shining light, we see what was in the shadows. All that kind of vermin that was hiding those things that we weren't seeing is clear now. And this sun is shining light on some of your shadows, some of the things that you might still need to address to be able to finally get to this place. So as hard as it is sometimes when we see our shadow come up, it's again, in a way, a blessing in disguise. It's reminding us that, oh, we still have to work on that part. So whatever the sun is shining, whatever ends up coming up, maybe some of these more difficult things, remember that those are the lessons that if you work on them now, you'll be able to get past them and get back to this more sunny, happy place, which is eventually going to get you back to this new you that's full of color, that's full of light, that needs the sun to shine down on it to enable this new seed to grow from these new roots. But for that to happen, you sometimes need to address your shadow side, the darkness that's there. So it's that finding that balance. So on that, I know that sometimes when we're going through these messy moments of the chaos and the death, it can be really hard. But I hope that this reading will bring you guidance to remind you of where you're going, to this new beautiful tree that you're going to be able to build, and give you hope, reassurance. Remember that you have the sun on your side that's going to be shining down. So just to look for that, to concentrate on what is going well in your life right now. I'm wishing you lots of love and lots of laughter as you go through this hard moment, but you will get through this, believe me. See you next video. Thanks so much for watching.